The summer of 2025 will be remembered in Canada not for its warmth or long, sunlit days, but for a sense of unease that swept across the nation. What should have been a season of relaxation and celebration became a time of anxiety and uncertainty for millions of Canadians. The economic storm was unleashed by a sudden and staggering 35% tariff from the Trump administration, a move that sent shockwaves through every sector of the Canadian economy. Overnight, the cost of doing business with the United States soared, and the ripple effects were immediate. Across Ontario and Quebec, factories that had operated for generations were forced to shutter their doors. Workers who once felt secure in their jobs now faced an uncertain future as entire communities braced for the fallout. In British Columbia, sawmills that once buzzed with activity now stand silent, their yards overflowing with unsold lumber. The province's vital forestry industry, already under pressure, found itself at a standstill, with nowhere to send its goods. On the prairies, farmers watched helplessly as their crops risked rotting in overfilled silos, cut off from their largest and most reliable market. Years of hard work and investment now seemed in jeopardy, and the sense of frustration was palpable. The intricate supply chains that had long bound Canada and the US together began to fracture. It wasn't just the big corporations that suffered. Small businesses, the heart of so many Canadian towns, faced closures and layoffs as shelves emptied and customers disappeared. The dream of a seamless North American market built over decades of cooperation was suddenly shattered. Canada's over-reliance on a partner-turned-adversary was laid bare for all to see, forcing a national reckoning. In Ottawa, government officials scrambled to respond, forced into a painful realization of just how deeply Canada's fate is tied to the unpredictable winds of U.S. politics. Every decision now carried enormous weight. Prime Minister Mark Carney faced mounting pressure from all sides as job losses and economic hardship dominated headlines. The public demanded answers, and the stakes had never been higher. Across the country, Canadians took to the streets, demanding more than just reassurance. They wanted bold, decisive action, a real plan to weather the storm and protect their livelihoods. In search of answers, Canada began to consider a path once thought unimaginable, forging new alliances and rethinking its place in the world, determined to chart a more independent future. For over a century, Canada's prosperity was built on partnership with the United States, shared values, integrated economies, and open borders. This relationship shaped everything from trade to culture, and for generations, Canadians saw the U.S. as both a neighbor and a vital economic lifeline. The border was more than a line on a map, it was a symbol of trust and mutual benefit. But this deep integration always carried risk. As the junior partner, Canada was vulnerable to shifts in U.S. policy. Decisions made in Washington could ripple across Canada's economy overnight, leaving businesses and workers exposed to forces beyond their control. The new wave of America First protectionism has turned that risk into an existential threat. Tariffs, trade barriers, and unpredictable policy changes have shaken the foundation of the relationship, forcing Canada to confront uncomfortable truths about its dependency. Ottawa now realizes this isn't a temporary squall, but a fundamental change in the global trade climate. The old assumptions no longer hold, and the urgency to adapt has never been greater. The U.S. is targeting not just Canada, but allies and rivals alike, signaling a strategic shift away from multilateralism. This new era is marked by uncertainty, as traditional alliances are tested and global rules are rewritten. Relying on a single dominant partner is no longer viable, it's a recipe for instability. The consequences are visible in shuttered factories, anxious business owners, and volatile markets across the country. Canada is intensifying diplomacy with Mexico and others, but consensus is growing. A radical pivot is needed. Policymakers, economists, and business leaders agree. The time has come to rethink Canada's place in the world. Diversification is now a national imperative. Expanding trade beyond North America is no longer just an option, it's a necessity for long-term stability and growth. That search for new partners has led Canada to consider an alliance once on the far periphery of its foreign policy, BRICS. As the world changes, Canada is looking further afield, seeking new opportunities and forging relationships that could define its future. In a dramatic shift, Canada is exploring joining the BRICS alliance, an idea unthinkable just years ago. BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, began as an economic concept but has become a powerful political and economic bloc. its mission to boost the influence of its members and the global south, offering alternatives to Western-led institutions like the IMF and World Bank. The new development bank funds infrastructure and development, often in local currencies, reducing reliance on the US dollar. For Canada, suddenly desperate for new markets, BRICS offers a compelling alternative. This isn't an ideological move but a pragmatic response to economic survival. The expanded BRICS now includes Saudi Arabia, UAE, Egypt, and Ethiopia, increasing its global weight. For a trade-dependent nation, joining BRICS could provide a vital buffer against US protectionism and open vast new markets. The rise of BRICS marks a profound transformation in the global order, signaling a shift away from decades of US dominance toward a truly multipolar world. This evolution is not just about economics or politics, it's about a new balance of power that is reshaping international relations and the way nations interact on the world stage. China's rapid economic ascent, Russia's renewed geopolitical influence, and the growing confidence of India and Brazil have collectively ended the unipolar era. These nations are asserting themselves, not just regionally, but as global players with their own visions for the future. Today, BRICS represents more than 40% of the world's population, and generates 44% of global GDP. Its influence is felt in every corner of the globe, from bustling cities to rural communities shaping the lives of billions. Its members are actively building financial systems that operate independently of the US dollar, including the development of a cross-border payment system designed to bypass SWIFT and reduce vulnerability to Western sanctions. The new development bank, a flagship BRICS initiative, has already financed nearly 100 projects, channeling billions into infrastructure and development, especially in areas often overlooked or underserved by traditional Western lenders. Over 30 nations, including Mexico, Turkey, and Indonesia, are now seeking to join BRICS, drawn by the promise of a more inclusive and balanced global system. The bloc's appeal is especially strong among countries in the global south, who see BRICS as a platform to amplify their voices and pursue their own development agendas. While internal divisions and differing national interests persist, US trade aggression and protectionist policies have paradoxically unified the bloc's purpose and accelerated its cooperation. Washington's tariffs and sanctions have only intensified the desire among BRICS members to create robust alternatives, further fueling their drive for economic independence. BRICS has evolved from a loose club of rising powers into a dynamic coalition seeking strategic autonomy and a greater say in global governance. For many nations, BRICS now stands as the most attractive and credible counterweight to the Western-led order, offering new opportunities and a vision of a more equitable world. Canada's crisis is part of a global backlash against US protectionism. The US has imposed tariffs not just on Canada but on allies like Japan, South Korea, and Switzerland, rattling global markets. Europe's confidence in the US is shaken. Leaders in Berlin and beyond now question the reliability of the transatlantic partnership. This frustration has fueled BRICS's momentum, with its recent summit condemning US measures and pledging expanded intra-bloc trade. More countries are lining up to join BRICS, seeking a forum to push back against American unilateralism. Ironically, US aggression is accelerating the shift to a multipolar world. Even within the US, consumers face higher prices and corporations report losses as supply chains unravel. Companies scramble to adapt, but the disruption is widespread. The trade war's double-edged sword is clear: protectionism comes at a steep cost, even at home. For Canada, BRICS membership offers both opportunity and risk. The biggest draw is economic diversification, access to vast new markets and investment from rapidly growing economies. It could grant Canada strategic autonomy, reducing US leverage and allowing a more independent foreign policy, but the risks are real. US retaliation could mean harsher tariffs or security disruptions. Aligning with countries like China and Russia brings diplomatic and ethical challenges, straining ties with traditional allies. BRICS itself is not monolithic. Internal divisions and competing interests are common. Canada could find itself a junior partner in a new club, trading one dependency for another. The decision is a high-stakes gamble between the pain of the present and the uncertainty of a new future. The stakes: sovereignty, prosperity, and Canada's place in the world. The BRICS proposal has ignited a fierce national debate, splitting political parties, business leaders, and the public. Proponents, led by Prime Minister Carney, argue it's a pragmatic response to crisis, economic self-preservation, and a seat at a new global table. Supporters see vast new markets and a chance to adapt to a multipolar world. Critics warn it's a betrayal of Canadian values and could irreparably damage ties with the US and other democracies. They question whether economic gains are worth the political and moral costs of aligning with authoritarian regimes. Skeptics also point to BRICS's internal divisions and Canada's likely limited influence. The debate is about more than trade, it's about national identity and the future Canada wants. Is BRICS a bold step forward or a reckless leap into the unknown? August 2025 has brought Canada to a historic crossroads. The choice is not just about trade blocs, but about national identity and Canada's role in a changing world. The old balancing act, multilateralism with a privileged US relationship, is no longer tenable. Staying the course means continued vulnerability. Pivoting to BRICS means venturing into uncharted territory. If Canada joins BRICS, it could accelerate the bloc's momentum and position itself as a bridge between the global North and South. Turning away would reaffirm traditional alliances, but risk marginalization. This is a test of national courage and vision. The debate is about who Canada is and who it wants to become. The choice made now will echo for generations, shaping the destiny of a nation caught between a powerful neighbor and a changing world.